Hi, this is Session 3 in our Tapestry Teachers Training Series entitled Gaining Vision for Homeschooling High School, and I'm Marcia Somerville, author of Tapestry of Grace. Welcome. As a homeschool leader and a parent of grown children, people often ask me, should I homeschool through high school? Now, neither I nor anyone else can tell a parent yes you should or no you shouldn't with any authority, because at the end of the day, all parents stand accountable to God alone for such decisions. What I can address with you here today are reasons that you should consider homeschooling through these years. 21st century homeschoolers have many choices for schooling young adults. The options can be bewildering, especially given the competing values that parents must consider. The emotions of our heart also vie with the thoughts in our head for dominion during the decision-making process. The best way that I can help parents in this situation is to help them clarify the questions that they should be asking and the values that they should prioritize as they consider homeschooling through high school. And that's what this session is for, to clarify the elements of a philosophy of education so that you and your husband can make an informed decision. I'm assuming that you're another mom and that we're going to have a meaningful chat over a cup of your favorite beverage for the next hour. I'm not going to argue you into homeschooling high school in this session. Rather, this is a vision casting session. Many people have trouble grasping the vision without help, but once you see the big picture, options fall into place relatively, and you can make a good decision based on biblical convictions that will last when the pressure is on. Now, if you're listening to this session, typically you're in one of two camps. Either you've been homeschooling for a number of years and are finally approaching the high school years, or you're new to homeschooling and are wondering if you can really do this at all. Even the most experienced and confident homeschool veteran of the elementary and junior high years has asked the question of whether or not to homeschool high school when she approaches this new hurdle. So if you feel at all guilty for even asking the question of whether you should keep going, let me assure you that you are both sane and rational. One should examine her reasons for making choices that will so deeply impact the lives of her children. You are to be applauded. Now, some of you who are experienced homeschoolers may always have assumed that you would quit at high school, but now you've tasted the joys of having your kids with you, and you're re-examining those assumptions. If there's a way to do it, you might like to make the attempt after all. Those of you who are new to homeschooling itself may not know firsthand of the rich value of keeping your kids at home yet, but you're well aware of the dangers that your kids are facing in other settings in today's world. Perhaps your school district has experienced budget cuts, or your children have fallen in with the wrong crowd at school. Or maybe your local Christian school is raising tuition or shutting down. For you, the question might actually be more like, can homeschool high school be done, starting at this late date? Or should it be done, or can I teach? I'm eager to serve all of these types of listeners, so if you've grabbed your cuppa, let's chat. Let me address you experienced homeschooling moms first. Why do veteran homeschoolers consider stopping at high school? While kindergarten through 6th grade academics are easy to comprehend for most moms, and we find our way in learning to teach them amidst our busiest mothering years by the grace of God alone, high school subjects can be daunting. We can see how to show a kindergartner that one button and one button is two buttons, and figure out how to teach our first grader to sound out k at. We can help our third grader find the Nile River on the map of Egypt and teach our fifth grader how to find percents. But face us with equations for chemistry, algebra, or essay writing, and we lose heart. Many of us have never mastered these ourselves, so how can we expect to teach them now? Our husbands, too, can be daunted by these classes. Men like to fix things. If we come to them with our doubts about homeschooling high school, they may quickly assume that we have reached our limit when we're really just sharing our emotions, not requesting solutions. I think the academic content of high school teaching tends to be the main reason that veteran homeschool parents lose their vision and heart for homeschooling in high school. To use a Bible image, they are becoming like grasshoppers in their own sight when they hear of the giants that are roaming in the promised land. Another situation involves youths with talents for sports or specialized activities. A sports scholarship offers a free ride to college, but only if the child plays on a team at a traditional school. Or your youth might want a level of instruction that you just can't offer, such as advanced AP courses pursuant to a law degree, or computer programming courses, or in-depth training in automotive repair. Apart from these concerns about academics or activities, mothers of many children can feel that something has to give. Our quivers are so full. We know that it's the littles who need mommy, and it can appear that the older kids don't need us as much as the youngers do, and, well, they have to get out there someday, so when push comes to shove, which is a fallacy, push isn't really coming to shove, we make the choice to send our olders out of the home, especially for those daunting high school subjects. And finally, some longtime homeschool parents feel that their kids are ready to broaden their horizons. They've resisted that need for socialization issue long enough. They begin to feel that their kids need to try their wings or take what they have learned to unbelievers in the big world, or that they need to become leaders of their generation in a Christian school setting. They can't stay home forever, and they begin to wonder if they are smother mothers who should let their kids go. And while God may lead you in such directions because your inclinations are of His plan, it's also possible that you're jumping the gun and overestimating your youth's maturity. Now, you parents who are new to homeschooling and considering bringing your students home for high school are typically grappling with somewhat different questions. You tend to ask questions more like these. First, will my child have any friends or social opportunities if I homeschool in high school? Such parents often fondly remember homecoming football games, school plays, school proms, experiences in school government or debating teams, maybe graduating with their class. The world for a homeschool high schooler can seem way too small when you're considering it by comparison with the benefits of a larger, more traditional school. Such parents also ask how, albeit with a little more bewilderment and insecurity than their veteran sisters. How does one homeschool these advanced academic classes? It's an issue for both parents who have homeschooled and parents who haven't, and we'll address it in much detail later on. Another significant question for such moms who have not had their children at home for the grammar and dialectic years is, will my child submit to me as a teacher and learn from me? And then, as with veterans, the eternal specter of the amorphous college admissions officer rises before their eyes. What about college admissions? Assuming that I can even teach, will colleges accept my student? And if they do, will my child be able to handle college, given my faltering attempts to prepare him? While veterans ask this too, this question is a bit more difficult for those who've been invested in the traditional school model for years and are only now thinking of abandoning ship. Doubtless there are many more questions, but these I've listed give us plenty of ground to cover in this chat. In fact, I'll be speaking a little fast in order to get through it all. To gain perspective on this murky matter, let's consider two distinct dimensions of our life here on Earth, the horizontal dimension and the vertical one. Now, the horizontal dimension is the man-to-man one. Life on Earth as one sees it from the perspective of the ground. The vertical dimension is from God to man. Like a one-eyed man, if we only take into account the horizontal dimension of life, we get no depth perception of the situation. To change analogies just slightly, whenever one feels lost in the woods, it's a good idea to climb a tree or get to higher ground and see if you can get a better idea of the lay of the land. Even so, as we process the kinds of questions we've been asking, it's always helpful to get up high, into the vertical, to be God-oriented in our dimension, and to take a God's-eye view of any perplexing subject. So let's define some terms using biblical language. The Bible calls our teens youths or young men. Americans today use the term young adults to capture the biblical view of people in their late teens. This differs from the common cultural view that high schoolers are teens and are still very much treated as children. Of these youths, then, the Bible has a lot to say. One of the clear messages is that while age is revered for wisdom, youths can often have a significant role in adult affairs. Here are some examples. Think of Samuel ministering before the Lord as a child, and David slaying the giant Goliath as a youth. Jeremiah was a young man too, whom God tasked with an awesome responsibility. He had to tell his fellow Jews that the curses of the covenant were about to fall on them because of their rebellion against the Lord. As God was commissioning Jeremiah, he was fearful, and yet we read, "But the Lord said to me, 'Do not say I am only a child. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you,' declares the Lord." Paul had similar words to say to Timothy. He wrote, "Let no one look down on your youthfulness, but rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example to those who believe." The Apostle John, in his old age, wrote in 1 John and in other places the following kind of thing. I am writing to you, little children, because your sins have been forgiven you for his name's sake. I am writing to you, fathers, because you know him who has been from the beginning. And I am writing to you, young men, because you have overcome the evil one. What is my point? Our youths are not necessarily to be considered as children. They are maturing before our very eyes, and they have the potential to participate in the adult world at much younger ages than our culture would normally allow or admit. Let me add to this idea with examples from history. In eras gone by, the kids who populate the high schools of today were contributing adults of society. Here are a few examples from different bygone eras. Let's talk about boys first. Worldwide, men could enter adult life quite young and receive positions of leadership or advanced educations. From ancient times down to the middle 1800s, the basic tenets of modern medicine were unknown and many wars of conquest were fought. Thus, youths have long served as soldiers while in their teens and often been thrust into positions of responsibility when their parents died young. Alexander the Great, for instance, received a classical Greek education under the tutorship of the famed philosopher Aristotle from when he was 13 to 16 years old. At 16, Alexander was left in charge as a regent of the kingdom while his father was away fighting. During King Philip's absence, there was a revolt at home. Alexander responded quickly. He crushed the Thracian Maeads insurgents, driving them from their territory, and then he colonized it with Greeks and founded a city named after him, Alexandropolis. At age 20, he succeeded his father to the throne after the king was assassinated. He went on to conquer the world, and we're still feeling the effects of his life. The father of the Reformation, Martin Luther, entered university training at the age of 19, and many of his contemporaries did so even earlier. In 1749, at the age of 17, George Washington was appointed to his first public office, surveyor of the newly created Culpeper County in Virginia. 3 years later, Washington was appointed a district adjutant general in the Virginia militia by Virginia's governor, Dinwiddie. The militia then appointed him Major Washington at the age of 20. Thomas Jefferson entered the College of William and Mary at 17 years old, and in 1762, at the age of 19, having completed all his college studies in 2 years, he graduated with highest honors. From the ages of 11 to 16, James Madison was homeschooled. He learned mathematics, geography, and modern and ancient languages and became especially proficient in Latin. At the age of 16, he began a 2-year course of study under Reverend Thomas Martin, who tutored Madison at home in preparation for college. He then entered college at 18 and graduated with his college degree 2 years later at the age of 20, despite study lapses due to serious illnesses. Now those are just the boys. Who was it who raised such heroes? Most mothers in most cultures down through history were married in their teens, but that didn't keep them from raising world changers. I'll end with the ultimate example of a path that many teenage girls have followed for centuries, with the example of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Most Bible scholars say that she was a young girl, probably about 15 to 17, when she conceived and gave birth to Jesus. Mary sure entered the adult world on the day that the angel visited her to announce what would soon take place in her womb. And she dealt with really tough stuff in being an unwed mother. Obviously, all young women who were married in their teens functioned as adults. Not only were they wives with full responsibilities of husband and household assumed, but they soon became mothers. Now, I could go on in this vein, and why am I camping so long here? Many parents and youths see the teen years as belonging to childhood, not adulthood. But the Bible and history show that youths can do hard things in the adult world, as Brett and Alex Harris have effectively argued in their book of this title. Many homeschooling parents have trouble seeing their youths as able to function in adult settings. Many conflicts in the home arise from a tendency to disrespect the abilities and desires of youths. They are capable of doing hard things. Do we put them in situations where they can truly sink or swim? Do we look for settings that will allow them to develop the gifts and talents that are getting more and more obvious day by day? We do youths a disservice if we under-challenge them. So one question to ask yourself while you're up high surveying the land from a God's eye view is, what are the gifts and talents that my youth clearly exhibits as he or she is entering these late teen years? And what kinds of experiences, training, or classes will best serve to prepare him or her for kingdom work? While kingdom work may be in secular settings, it's still done unto the king, and therefore our young adults need royal training. Sometimes that means tutoring or interning, two activities among many that are much more easily managed if the student is not in a traditional school setting. Now, we would do a disservice to our youths if we only look at the potential that they have to enter the adult world. The Bible has another message for us parents that we need for balance. If I stopped by saying youths can enter the adult world, you might think I'm arguing for sending them out of the home. This is not the case, so stay with me. Proverbs, the book of the Bible that was explicitly written to and for our youths, over and over enjoins youths to gain wisdom from their parents. Let's read the first 9 verses of Proverbs aloud and notice both the role of the parent and the picture of the blessed life that King Solomon is holding out to his son, if his son will heed his father's instruction. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. To understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck. Now, if you go on to browse the subject matter that Solomon takes up when instructing his young son in Proverbs, in just the first few chapters, he's talking about the ins and outs of sexual seduction, criminal activity, violent acts, handling money well. These are adult themes, and he's passionately pleading with his son to hear him on these matters so that his son may live a blessed life. It's clear here, too, then, that our youths are young adults, but equally forceful comes the message that parents are to have a significant role, and of course a corresponding responsibility, in shepherding youths through the season of their lives. The dangers to little children are, generally speaking, physical. They can get lost, or we can neglect to feed and clothe them, or they can get hit by a vehicle in the street. But the dangers to youths are of far greater scope, since they have more freedom of action and must grapple with adult temptations. Also, the choices that they make in this season can affect the course of their whole lives. Solomon warns that wrong choices on the topics that he's addressing can ruin the entire life and cause irrevocable damage to those around a youth. Now, of course, it is possible to parent youth successfully while sending them away for 40 hours every week. But the Bible passages present the question, why would we want to entrust our youths to anyone else during these crucial years, when they are grappling with adult issues and situations for the first time? From this vantage point, it seems that there would need to be extraordinary reasons for doing so. If our primary goal is to care for their souls and make the transition from direct oversight of our sons and daughters, as we are when they are young children, to fellow pilgrims on the road to the celestial city, as we will be with our adult children, it seems that we'd all learn new lessons far easier if we walk in company. If we would pass the baton of faith in God and the work for His kingdom to the next generation, we need to be running close enough to them to make the handoff. We need to have access to their thoughts, know who is influencing them most, and have a relationship wherein they're still listening to our advice. Again, I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying. Homeschooling is not the only vehicle for parenting success. One can accomplish all of these goals while sending students to school full-time. But I would submit that when one homeschools one's youth, it is simply easier in some ways to achieve the paramount goals for their lives. Let's look at the challenges that our youths face during this season. These years are the ones where our youths will embrace for themselves the foundations of their worldviews. While people can and do radically change their views as their lives progress, nonetheless, we all form filters through which we sort and sift information and experiences. If we develop in our youths biblical filters that can properly sort and sift the lies of men and the devil, they will be armed against deception and going astray. The Bible teaches us parents to bring up our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And there's this comforting verse for those whose children rebel for a season. Train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Clearly, we are commanded to build into our children biblical patterns of thinking and behaving for as long as we have influence over them. So this extends into the young adult years. Students in the late teen years are asking the big questions. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? What about my life? What should I do with it? And whom should I do it with? Students are choosing in these years their God, not their parents' choice, but their choice. As these years unfold, especially if students are off at school and out of the home, there will soon be no way to compel church attendance or times of personal devotions. They will be choosing for themselves whether or not to serve God. They'll be choosing their ground on moral issues as well. What do they think about drinking alcohol, developing a work ethic, deciding whether or not to exceed the speed limit while driving, etc.? And our youth will increasingly be making their own choices of friends and music. In Proverbs 13:20, Solomon warns his son that whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. The friend and musical choices that a youth makes become his companions and advisors. They shape his worldview for good or evil. Wise parents ask their children, "Is this an influence drawing you closer to God or sending you further from Him?" Youths will also have passion for vocations and activities to which they will give themselves wholeheartedly at this age. They are big on energy, but low on wisdom. To use an analogy that I learned from one of our pastors, David used a sling and a single stone to slay Goliath. He never could have killed that giant by throwing that stone with one arm. The sling added accuracy and velocity that gave that stone its power. Our youths are the stones, and we, their parents, are their slings. They want to contribute, but they need our sling action to help them succeed. They need us to help direct their efforts and make them more effective. So with your sling action in operation, you need to ask yourself, what activities do my youths choose? Do they choose them in the fear of God or just go along with the crowd? The choices of vocations and activities should be increasingly given over to their control, but we can also show them that if they use our sling action, their youthful energy and zeal will be far more effective than if they try things on their own. And of course, there's the whole world of sexuality to be explored. Suddenly our 14-year-old boy is taking showers on his own, and our young girl is primping before the church meeting. Huge insecurities are present over whether anyone in the opposite sex will ever like or love or choose or marry them. Our youths need biblical grounding in the matters of choosing mates, approaching the courtship process, developing convictions on sexual purity, and the like. They will do all this. The only question outstanding is, who will most influence them as they do? And you can broaden this question to the whole worldview of youths. They have been shaped, no doubt, by your teachings when they were children, but these teen years are the ones in which students will settle the opinions on key socio-political issues, and more importantly, their system for arriving at these opinions. Among others, there are questions that will confront them as voting citizens, such as federal funding for stem cell research, amnesty for illegal aliens, and privacy issues concerning medical records, just to name a few of the 21st century issues ahead for all Americans. Our youths need to have grounding in the Word of God and the experiences of humankind in the past if they're going to rightly relate the horizontal realities of their world to the vertical relationship that they have with God. So, how they interpret their studies in history, church history, philosophy, and literature will have a large impact on them during this season of life. All these things being true, again, how do you want your young adult to arrive at his or her worldview? Who will shape his or her thoughts on these matters? Many voices compete for our youth's attention in this day and age, and as they cross the threshold from dialectic to rhetoric years, you can't control their environment as easily as you could when they were young. As we discuss at more length in Session 4, Teaching Grammar and Dialectics students, wise parents extend ever greater liberties and then discuss the choices that their children are making while holding them responsible for their actions. If your students are homeschooled through high school, you can maintain a close relationship that makes it easier to shepherd them through this challenging season. And again, while you can successfully parent youths while sending them to school, by God's grace and with His leading, it can be vastly easier to do so if you are the primary influence in their lives. So let me conclude our time together on the mountaintop by saying, "This is the core of the vision for homeschooling high school." While academic and vocational concerns are real, and we're about to discuss them in much greater detail, they should not be overweighted on the decision-making scale against the responsibilities that you have to your son or daughter to teach and shape their eternal soul and life choices so that they can be eternally and temporally blessed. It is oh so easy to forget the invisible eternal when mired in the details of life. That's why we're here today, to both remember the heartbeat of homeschooling and address the real-life obstacles that assail it. So let's go back down into the horizontal level among the trees and see if we can't hew a path through the tangled thickets now that we've gained a clear sense of direction. We'll return to the questions with which we began this session and then end with specific ways that Tapestry of Grace studies were designed to help you homeschool through the high school years with joy, success, and purpose. Now, earlier we said that while K through 6 academics are easy to comprehend for most parents, high school subjects daunt many. We are sorely tempted to throw up our hands and say, "It can't be done by me." In light of all we've said above, I believe the place to start here is with our Heavenly Father. You know, if He's convicted you from His Word that you should teach your son or daughter through high school, He is not a hard taskmaster. A great way to start thinking about the daunting academics that make you appear as a grasshopper in your own sight is to spend some time meditating on the cross of Christ. God so loved you that He sent His only Son to die for your sins. Through the cross of Christ, He has adopted you as His child, and you can now draw on all of His wisdom, His power, His love, comfort, and promises as you set out down this road. You are not alone, and you are not helpless. There are so many ways that God can give you the means to provide an excellent academic education once He has reminded you of His love, and once you devote yourself to following Him and looking to Him to provide. Over and over, the Bible pictures us as little children who need a Father and a Savior in order to make it. Why should homeschooling high school be any exception? I have prayed as I wrote and recorded this session that you would see this bewildering and difficult task as a doorway to a whole new, intimate relationship of trust and love as you look to God and He answers your prayer. Perhaps the greatest verse that I might share with you at this point would be Proverbs 3:5-8, which translated in the ESV says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord, and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones." I hope this will sink into your soul. One reason that God is calling you to homeschool high school is that your inabilities are a tool in His hands. When we are weak, He is strong, for His power is perfected in weakness. He loves to provide and thus glorify Himself, but if we've got it all together, He doesn't get that chance. To paraphrase John Piper's amazing article entitled "Don't Waste Your Cancer," let's not waste our terror in approaching the high school years. It drives us to a good place, our knees. God is there to help you. Cry out to Him and then trust. He will be strong and loving on your behalf. Could I suggest that you pause this recording for a few minutes and pray silently right now that God will meet you and help you decide about, or whether or not to undertake according to your leading, the homeschooling of your youth? Let's go ahead and pray. Now, let's see if part of that prayer doesn't get answered in the next few minutes. First, when we really sit and look at the list of high school subjects, we're probably not completely helpless in the face of all disciplines, as we might first think. If you have a vision for keeping your child with you through the high school years for discipleship reasons, then one answer to the academic challenge is to identify those subjects that you can, with God's help, attempt to teach. This should narrow the list of daunting subjects down, at least some. Your next thing to do is to look for home-based learning opportunities where you are not the primary teacher. Your students do need your friendship and guidance for life and spiritual issues, but they are more able than your littles to learn academics through independent study, or at least manage their time for their studies without your close supervision or participation. For instance, if they take an outside class, they should be able to manage assignments and deadlines without much help from you if you've trained them well in previous years at home, as we cover in Session 5. They can thus often work through online or video courses without too much of your help. In thus farming out classes that you feel unable to teach, your valuable time will be prioritized and well invested in processing with your youth the life and worldview questions that are so huge to them in these years, the ones we've been talking about. So, for the subjects that you know you cannot teach, look at ways to get your youths the academic teaching that they need, either in your home, using, for instance, online classes such as our company offers through the Lampstand Learning Center, teaching videos, or in-home tutorial, or outside the home nearby in a local community college or a co-op setting. Bear in mind this well-kept secret. Not every course needs to be top-notch. You can plan to get the best possible instruction for the subjects that matter most to your unique high school student and provide a less demanding overview of other subjects. For example, if your student is decidedly humanities-oriented, then he can take a very simple textbook-based class in biology or chemistry. The range of classes that most colleges require for high school are for preparation for higher studies, not for mastery. Give your child a basic working knowledge of all subjects, but put more energy and priority on those that foster his emerging giftings. This way, he'll be best prepared for college courses or vocational training that he's most likely to take at advanced levels. Now, of course, for teaching in the home, Tapestry of Grace was designed to allow virtually all moms the privilege of teaching the humanities. If you are most daunted by history, literature, geography, church history, philosophy, or Bible survey, feel encouraged. Tapestry was truly written with you in mind. This 10-year labor of love on our part was undertaken primarily for the busy mom who feels that she is out of her depth in these topics and hasn't time to do all of the reading and preparing that are usually required to teach high schoolers on these subjects. What Tapestry is a plan that maximizes your ability for high schoolers while including the instruction of your youngers on similar topics and promoting family unity as an added bonus. We really have gotten many letters and emails over the years that expressed that Tapestry of Grace was the reason that moms and dads found the courage and vision to homeschool through high school. It was their cards and letters that kept us faithful to this project through many a dark and busy day. If teaching the humanities is your biggest hurdle, we hope that Tapestry will remove it so that you can walk through these years in close fellowship with your young adults. And with these subjects covered, and covered with excellence, you can feel fine about using alternative settings for math, science, and foreign language studies as you fulfill the all-important discipleship mandate. Now, another question we raised earlier is that sometimes students can have needs that mandate out-of-the-home studies, such as talent for team or individual sports, or the need for instruction in a field that you cannot teach, such as advanced AP courses pursuant to a law degree or highly competitive school. Certainly, all of our children have been created specially by God for His good purposes. They all have a role to play in the world. If, before God, you as parents feel that your child must have instruction largely outside the home context in the high school years that you cannot give him or her, then you will need to prioritize this special calling in your child's life. However, that said, some parents can misprioritize a gift or a talent because homeschooling is, in essence, individual tutorial instruction and can produce some amazingly gifted and talented kids at young ages. Lacking the big picture and being relatively young parents ourselves, we can develop tunnel vision and keep only those gifts and talents in view. Thus, we can tend to move our youths on too early to the specialized fields that God does have for them, but that's not the whole picture. You need to consider the stage of life that your youth is in and the benefits of a broad-based liberal arts education that will serve him or her in all areas of life, not just the specialized one. Let's take an extreme, but real, example to prove the point. Suppose your son is a math genius who's mastered calculus at age 8 and could easily finish high school by 13. What will you do after that? Send him to college? Why not find an online mentor for the math, but keep him home so he can have a broad, deep, rich humanities education as well? This is an extreme example to prove a point. First, a youth must learn other subjects so that he will be a well-rounded adult. Though he couldn't care less, he needs to learn about literature and learn to write a cogent paragraph and read all that God has done in the world up to today. He needs breadth as well as depth. The math science kid will need to function amongst other adults who are not just like him. He'll need to know what people are talking about when they mention great writers or events of old. He'll need the ability to process the events of today in light of the events of the past. Otherwise, though he might discover a really important mathematical theory someday, he won't be a very strong contributor to his church or community, nor will he be a strong leader of his family. Because our society allows specialization in college educations, the teen years may be his last chance to be introduced to the great works, ideas, and events of Western civilization. In other words, the benefits of a liberal arts education. He may also be thrown too soon into adult situations and temptations for which he is unprepared because of his youth. He'll specialize in college, you can count on it, but high school at home gives him the time to grow up into the amazing future that God may have for him while being a productive member of society as well. Let's take the opposite example, kids with special needs. We've been so touched by how Tapestry has served such children and their moms. Tapestry makes it possible for every child to share the family's educational adventure, whether they're ahead of the curve or behind it, which provides a kind of inclusion special educators dream of without ever sending the child off to a resource room or for special treatment. And about that sports scholarship, if your leading in that direction comes more from fear than faith, I would advise you to question it. If you put discipleship and an excellent home-based education ahead of concerns for college financing, you may just find, as we did, that your children are blessed with financial means that you can't now foresee. So in summing up this set of thoughts and returning to the perceived needs for specialized education outside the home, the advice I have for you is to consider the whole youth, not just the areas in which he shines, and not just financial concerns for the future. Possibly, as with other subjects, there are ways to forward his talent but keep him home. Time doesn't permit me to share the countless examples that I know of homeschooling families who, while keeping first things first, found that God provided amazing aids to talented students within the homeschool context. Now, we talked earlier about moms with large families who can feel that something has to give. It can appear that older kids don't need as much as youngers do, and coupled with the daunting high school academics, moms make the choice to send the olders out of the home. Well, again, this is why Tapestry was written and designed as it was. You really can teach all of your children the humanities from kindergarten to 12th grade using Tapestry of Grace, because it puts everyone in the home on one subject each week, and fully plans the resources, discussions, and hands-on projects that make for an excellent education at all levels. And the bonus, of course, is that there's amazing family unity when using Tapestry, since from the youngest kids to the oldest, everyone has something to contribute during dinner time discussions of the day's learning events. We're running out of time, but let me just reiterate, your olders do need you. They don't necessarily need you for academic content. They need you to help shepherd their hearts. Now, as for those of you who are new to homeschooling and wonder if their youth's worlds will be broad enough, there's no more flexible model of education than homeschooling. You can tailor-make each child's academic and/or vocational training to his or her needs and talents. While remaining based in the home, older students can intern at a nearby business, be tutored by field experts, join in co-ops that provide friends and classmates for group discussions or activities, etc. They usually complete their academic work in less time than in traditional classrooms, so if they have a passion for fine arts or animal husbandry or computer programming, opportunities are far greater in the homeschool setting for them to advance these special talents, while still remaining broad. Far from closing in opportunities, homeschooling high schools offer the largest possible range of options for youths, while allowing for the all-important biblical mandate to continue their discipleship through this crucial stage of life. We're drawing close to the end here. Having run through all of these principles and factors with you, I'd like to take a minute or two to explain why Tapestry in particular supports the vision from homeschooling through the high school years. Tapestry studies offer you the chance to give your children a Christian education using a classical approach. Our goal has always been to enable parents to develop in their youths a solid, informed, biblical worldview. That's our mission and the goal that drove the development of Tapestry of Grace through thick and thin. Let me unpack a few of these terms so that you'll fully understand. Tapestry offers a classical education in that we take the students into the great conversation via the great books of human history. Studying the best of yesterday enables young people to make wise choices today that will affect tomorrow. Tapestry's education is Christian because week to week, the reading list, discussion outlines, and writing assignments all conjoin to ask the student to consider questions like these. What was God doing in the world? How did humans react to such and such a situation? What choices did they make? Where was God in their choices? How are they like me? What were the results of their choices? And how do their stories and thoughts and assertions apply to my choices in real time today with respect to God, His Word, and my relationships? The Tapestry Method, summarized as read, think, write, helps youths arrive at a biblically informed worldview that they themselves both understand and own because we train you to take a Socratic approach during your discussion times. Our discussion outlines support you as you lead your son or daughter through a series of open-ended questions designed to help them discover and apply their own worldview and to remember how they got there. This is often rare among American youths. Their opinions have been shaped all right, but they can seldom tell you how or by whom, or the reasons that they believe as they do. A Tapestry education is also a strong one. Please do not wonder if your child will be academically shortchanged if you use Tapestry at home. As written, Tapestry plans constitute a high honors study of the humanities that rivals any of America's top-level prep schools. We've received high accolades as a top gifted and talented program from experts in the field, as you can see in reviews on our website. Yet Tapestry is customizable to a wide variety of students with very little effort. If your child is a history buff but not so keen on the depths of literary analysis, you can major on the first and trim down the demands of the second. It's always easier to simplify or cut a curriculum than to supplement it. So total control is yours, but the key point here is that you need not fear that Tapestry studies won't cut it when it comes to college admissions. This is a top-notch education that you're providing for a fraction of prep school costs, with total control over your child's exposure to adult themes and total access to his processing of what he's learning in the humanities. Now, when entering high school planning, there's a significant shift from what you may be used to in the lower grades. While there's really no national standardization of the order of studies in lower levels, when you get to the high school years, you need a 4-year plan and to keep your eye on credits. Nationwide, most colleges share similar entrance requirements, especially for 5 core subjects: history, English, math, sciences, and foreign language. They typically add requirements for key electives, such as economics and government studies. Tapestry of Grace provides a solid 4-year plan for history, literature, writing and composition, art history, and government studies. We add in geography and philosophy, as well as a meaty 4-year Bible survey and church history elective. Since most of these disciplines are planned down through all the learning levels in your home, and you prepare one basic topic each week for all students in your home, Tapestry's rigorous program is one that you can live with year in and year out. So, using Tapestry, you gain benefits not only for your high schooler, but your younger kids come along in the Tapestry system of full family learning. And most moms tell us that Tapestry not only gives them faith and courage to educate their high schoolers, but makes them, the moms, more educated, better citizens, and better teachers of younger children as a result. A final layer of joy with the Tapestry program is that high schoolers can easily stay connected with younger siblings during these transitional years. They can be home more hours to partake in the daily rhythm of family life. Since everyone in the home is on the same basic topic each week, dinner conversations can be a time of sharing various insights in which all members of the family can take part. Thus, the peer orientation so common among youths who attend age-segregated schools or even in homeschools where youngers and olders use different curricula and are separated in their studies are typically not present in Tapestry families. In our own home, our oldest son, until he went away to college, was best friends with our youngest daughter, even though there was a 10-year spread. So here's my final thought, and then I'll let you go. I almost gave up when I saw how much homeschooling high school required of me. I flatly stated to my husband, here's where we stop homeschooling. We cried together because we loved what homeschooling had done for our family in the years before high school, and yet we knew, or we thought we knew, that we could not provide a solid education at home. That's what we thought. But God had other plans. Through events too numerous to relate now, I stumbled upon the distinctive methods that have become formalized into Tapestry of Grace, and I and my kids not only survived, but thrived. At this time, 5 of my children are graduated from the colleges of their choice, and 1 is halfway through. All 6 children love each other, and they love the Lord. Our family has been privileged to not only be blessed ourselves, but to pour this blessing out into the lives of thousands of people nationwide and worldwide. Scott and I could hardly have imagined that this would be the result of seeking the Lord on the question of whether or not to homeschool high school, but so it has proved out. We and countless families like us would not have missed the rich high school years, nor would we trade the fact that our young adults are walking with God and contributing in significant ways to their churches and their nation. Homeschooling is not the only way to successfully parent youth through the high school years, but it can be a blessed option that, I believe, all believers who are so moved by God ought to prayerfully consider. Thanks for listening, and God bless you as you listen to the Lord on this most important subject.